The greatest lie society sold you, and you still believe it. You were born into a story. A script that was written long before you arrived, with characters you didn't choose, settings you didn't design, and a plot you were never asked to agree to. From the moment you opened your eyes, society was already busy teaching you what to see. You were handed names for things, told what was important, given labels like boy or girl, smart or shy, gifted or average. You were told who the heroes are, who the villains are, what success looks like, what failure smells like, and what kind of life is worth living. The greatest lie society ever sold you, and the one you still believe, is that this story is the truth. This is the invisible contract, that you must play the game, follow the rules, and chase goals that were handed to you before you even knew what desire was. You were taught to believe in the system, not because it's real, but because everyone else does. And when enough people believe a lie, it becomes a shared reality. But that doesn't make it true. It makes it powerful. And that's the point. The greatest lies are never shouted. They're whispered, installed like software. They become so embedded in your thinking that you don't even recognize them as foreign. You call them common sense. You call them just the way things are.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Let's be brutally honest. You didn't choose your name. You didn't choose your nationality. You didn't choose your religion, your first language, your school, your economic class. You didn't even choose your beliefs, not really. Most of what you believe came from the environment you were raised in. Your opinions, your values, your fears, they were carefully sculpted by repetition and reward. And yet, you walk around as if your perspective is sovereign. But is it? Here's the lie, that you are free, that you are an autonomous individual making rational choices in a fair system, that if you just work hard, follow the rules, and think positively, you'll get the life you deserve. But if that were true, wouldn't everyone who works hard be thriving? Wouldn't every honest person succeed? Wouldn't every good intention lead to justice? But we know that's not how it works. We see people crushed under the weight of invisible systems every day. And we call it bad luck. We call it personal failure. Because it's too terrifying to admit that the game might be rigged from the start. Think about school. From a young age, you're trained to sit still, obey authority, and regurgitate information. Not to question, not to explore, not to grow in depth, but to perform. You're graded on how well you conform, not how deeply you understand. You're rewarded for obedience, not originality. And so you begin to associate your worth with your output. You learn to chase gold stars, likes, applause, external validation. And somewhere in that process, you forget how to feel your own truth. You forget how to ask, does this make me feel alive? Because you're too busy asking, does this make me look successful? And the cycle continues. You get older and the game just gets more expensive. Now it's about grades, then degrees, then salaries, then mortgages, then promotions. You trade your time, your energy, your creativity for what? For security, for status, for the illusion of control. And the system keeps dangling the carrot just out of reach. One more milestone, one more hustle, one more year, and maybe then you'll feel like you've made it. But you don't, because the game was never designed to be winnable. It was designed to keep you playing. What if I told you that success as defined by society, is a moving finish line. That you were sold a dream that depends on your never waking up. That the only way the system survives is if you keep believing that you are not enough until you buy, earn, or prove your way to worthiness. That's not a life. That's a treadmill. And the faster you run, the more exhausted you become, the more the system praises you. But have you ever asked, who benefits from me staying tired, distracted, and afraid? This is where the philosophical rubber meets the road. Because if you accept that society's story is not the only story, then you're faced with a terrifying truth. You might have to write your own. And that's hard. That's lonely. That takes courage. Because now you can't blame the system for everything. You have to look at yourself. You have to ask, what do I really want? Who am I when no one is watching? What am I doing just to survive, and what am I doing to feel truly alive? The greatest lie society sold you is that the path was already paved, that the answers were already found, that the models of success and happiness they gave you were universal. But maybe they're not. Maybe your path isn't supposed to look like anyone else's. Maybe your truth doesn't fit into their metrics. Maybe the life you're meant to live is one they never even considered possible. And the moment you start to see that, you begin to wake up. The fog lifts, the noise fades, and what remains is something ancient and quiet and powerful, your own knowing. That intuitive, unshakable voice that whispers, you were not born to obey. You were born to become. So now the question becomes, if you didn't believe their story, what story would you choose instead? The cult of normal, how society weaponizes belonging to bury your potential. Normal is one of the most dangerous words in the human language. Not because it describes reality, but because it defines the boundaries of what is acceptable. And from the moment we're old enough to understand language, we're taught to seek it. Be normal, act normal, dress normally, think like everyone else, don't be weird, don't stand out, don't ask too many questions. And all the while, we're told that normal is safe, that normal is good, that if you just stay within the lines, you'll be loved, you'll be accepted, you'll belong. But let's be brutally honest, normal is a cage, and most people are too afraid to admit they're locked inside it. What society calls normal is not a universal truth. It's a cultural agreement, a contract forged by history, economics, religion, and fear. But it shifts from generation to generation, country to country, and even neighborhood to neighborhood. What's normal in one place is radical in another. And yet, we treat it like a law of nature. We shame those who deviate. We silence those who don't conform. And why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that belonging is more important than becoming, that fitting in is safer than standing out. But is it? Every person watching this has felt it. That sharp, invisible pressure to shrink, to shape yourself into something more palatable, to hide your wildness, your curiosity, your truth, just to avoid rejection. And every time you do that, a piece of you dies. Not dramatically, quietly. A slow erosion of the self. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You agree with opinions you don't share. You pursue goals that don't resonate with you. All because you're afraid of being seen as different. But here's the paradox. Every person you admire was different. Every soul who changed the world, philosophers, artists, scientists, rebels, they were all called strange, difficult, even dangerous in their time. They were mocked, misunderstood, often shunned. But they dared to step outside the cult of normal. And in doing so, they revealed a deeper truth, that belonging isn't found in conformity. It's found in authenticity. You don't find your people by fitting in. You find them by being real enough to be recognized. And yet, society continues to weaponize our need to belong. It turns it into a tool of control. Think about how school systems reward conformity, how workplaces punish creativity that challenges structure, how media sells you an image of success that looks exactly the same for everyone: attractive body, high income, curated lifestyle. You're never told to become yourself. You're told to become approved. But who decides what's approved? Who profits from your standardization? Here's a deeper question. What parts of yourself have you buried just to be accepted? What dreams have you abandoned because they didn't fit the timeline? What truths have you silenced because they made others uncomfortable? These are not small sacrifices. These are not harmless compromises. Every time you deny your uniqueness, you dilute your power. And the tragedy is, most of us don't even realize we're doing it. We call it being practical. We call it growing up. But what if it's actually a slow form of spiritual suicide? The cult of normal is so effective because it doesn't need chains. It uses shame. It uses fear. It makes you doubt your instincts. It makes you second-guess your vision. It whispers that if you just follow the path, things will work out. But what if the path is broken? What if the map they gave you leads to a life that's empty, predictable, and safe, but not yours? Breaking free from this cult doesn't mean becoming a rebel for the sake of rebellion. It means choosing truth over approval. It means standing in your difference, even when it's uncomfortable. It means realizing that true belonging only happens when you stop trying to be someone else. Because when you finally stop performing, when you finally stop pretending, you don't lose connection, you find it. You find the people who see you, not your mask. You find the work that excites you, not just pays you. You find a life that fits your soul, not just your resume. So I'll ask you this. If being normal costs you your aliveness, is it worth the price? The price. And if you weren't afraid of judgment, who would you become? Manufactured desires, why the life you're chasing isn't even yours. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, do I actually want what I say I want? Not on the surface, but in the depths, where your real self lives. Or are your desires just echoes of someone else's dreams? Because here's a truth most people never confront. Many of the things we chase in life, money, status, beauty, fame, even certain relationships, are not born from genuine desire. They are carefully manufactured wants, planted into our minds by a system that needs us to keep running, keep buying, keep proving. You weren't given freedom of thought. You were given a menu, a list of pre-approved ambitions. You pick a career, pick a lifestyle, pick a dream. But don't dare ask where those options came from. Don't ask who benefits from your choices. Just choose and keep the machine running. This is the machinery of capitalism, media, and culture working together in perfect harmony. They don't need to control you with force. They just need to convince you that their version of success is yours. And they do this brilliantly. Advertisements don't sell products. They sell identities. They tell you, if you drive this car, you're powerful. If you wear these clothes, you're desirable. If you own this home, you've made it. And the moment you believe that, they've won. because now your self-worth is tied to consumption. Your happiness is contingent on acquisition. Your identity becomes a brand. But it goes deeper. Even our goals are often inherited, not chosen. You want a six-figure job, why? You want to get married by 30, why? You want to live in the city, own a home, get a promotion, why? Most people can't answer that. Not really. They'll say, because it's the right thing to do. Or, that's just what people do. But that's not a reason. That's a reflex. That's not desire. That's programming. We've mistaken ambition for authenticity. We've confused chasing with choosing. And the tragedy is, this illusion feels real, but it keeps you busy. It fills your calendar. It gives you things to talk about. But deep down, there's a quiet ache. A whisper that says, this isn't it. You feel it when you reach a goal and still feel empty. You feel it when you get what you wanted and it doesn't fulfill you. You feel it when you're alone at night and the silence is louder than ever. That's not failure. That's your soul trying to wake you up. Ask yourself this: who would you be if no one was watching? If there were no likes, no applause, no titles, no trophies, what would you still do? What would you still want? That's where your real self begins. But most people never get there, because the world keeps them distracted. And distraction is the enemy of depth. We scroll, we consume, we compare, we chase, all to avoid asking the one question that threatens the entire system: is this life even mine? Manufactured desire is the most elegant form of control. It doesn't require chains. It just requires illusion. It makes you believe you're being empowered while you're actually being steered. It makes you believe you're making choices while your options are silently curated. It makes you believe you're free when in fact your soul is on autopilot. But here's the liberating truth: you can unplug. Not from society entirely. You don't need to live in the woods or abandon your goals. But you can choose to wake up. You can interrogate every desire. You can ask, did I choose this, or was I sold this? You can peel back the layers of conditioning and find what's truly yours underneath. Maybe it's not the corner office, it's painting or building or teaching or writing. Maybe it's not a perfect relationship, it's solitude. Maybe it's not being known, it's being free. Real desire is quiet. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers in moments of stillness. And if you listen, really listen, you'll notice it always points you toward aliveness, not approval. Toward presence, not performance. Toward depth, not display. So I'll leave you with this: what if the life you're chasing isn't even yours? And what if the life that is yours has been waiting for you to slow down long enough to notice it? The exit door: how to reclaim your mind, your time, and your truth before it's too late. There comes a moment, sometimes quietly, sometimes with a jolt, when you realize that you've been living a life that isn't yours. That your mind, your time, and your very sense of self have been colonized by expectations, beliefs, and desires you never consciously chose. And when that moment arrives, you're left with one terrifying, liberating question: is it too late to walk away? The answer is no. It's never too late to reclaim what's been taken. But the exit door is not where you think it is. It's not in quitting your job, deleting social media, or moving to a different city. The door is inside, and it opens the moment you choose to see things as they really are. Reclaiming your mind is the first step. And it's the hardest, because your thoughts are not as free as you think. They've been shaped by repetition, authority, and fear. To reclaim them, you have to become radically honest with yourself. You have to start observing your own mind like a scientist. Where do your thoughts come from? Who benefits from you believing them? Why do you value what you value? This isn't just introspection, it's spiritual resistance. Because once you see the programming, you can begin to uninstall it. You can start choosing thoughts that align with your truth, not your conditioning. You can begin to think from within, not react from without. Next comes your time, the most precious thing you own. And yet, most of us give it away like it's nothing. We fill our days with obligations, distractions, and performances. We say yes when we mean no. We scroll when we should be resting. We work to impress people we don't even like. And all the while, the clock keeps ticking. The exit door demands that you reclaim your time, not just by being productive, but by being intentional. Time isn't money. Time is life. And every moment you spend unconsciously is a moment of your life you'll never get back. Start small. Audit your time like you would your finances. Where does it go? What drains you? What nourishes you? What's urgent but meaningless, and what's meaningful but always delayed? Reclaiming time means learning to say no, even when it disappoints others. It means creating space for stillness, imagination, reflection. It means remembering that rest is not laziness, it's rebellion in a world that profits from your exhaustion. And finally, there is the reclamation of truth. This is not about knowing the truth, but knowing your truth. What feels real to you when all the noise is gone? What do you believe in, not because you were told to, but because you felt it in your bones? Truth is not a set of facts. It's a state of alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions all point in the same direction, that's truth. And living in truth is the most powerful form of freedom. Because when you're no longer trying to be anyone else, no one can manipulate you. You become untouchable not because you're invincible, but because you're real. But here's the catch: the exit door is always closing. Not because someone is locking it, but because time is moving. Every day you delay, every day you conform, every day you postpone the conversation with yourself, you drift further from the life that could have been yours. And one day you'll look back and realize the cost wasn't just time. It was you. The parts of you that never got to speak, create, love, or live fully. The parts of you that died quietly, sacrificed on the altar of approval. So I'll ask you one final question. If you keep living exactly as you are now, where does that road lead? Not in 5 years, not in 10, but at the very end, what will you have become? And is that who you were meant to be? You don't need permission to change. You don't need a breakdown to begin. You just need to stop believing the lie that says you can't. The mind is yours. The time is yours. The truth is yours. The door is already open. Walk through it before it disappears.